Hey, FewContribution2916. Thanks for sending in the video. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a quick swing analysis, and we're going to talk about what's going on and why you're seeing some of the shots you're seeing. It's very clear to me why you're not able to shallow the club. And then I'm going to give you some thoughts and some ideas and then an actual drill on how we're going to get your contact a little bit better through impact. So I think your grip looks really good. You're doing a lot of really nice things through the swing here. Your position at the top is actually really nice with your hands and your arms. So you're in a good spot to attack the ball with your upper body. But there's some stuff going on with your lower body that I want to talk to you about and show you here. So I'm going to play through this the first time here, and some of these lines are going to pop on and off. And I'm going to talk through what each of these lines mean and why you're seeing what you're seeing in your swing and the difficulty you have with shallowing your hands. And actually, it's because you're jammed against your body. So your body's actually getting in the way of where your hands are supposed to go. And then that's causing everything to go vertical, which will make you hit it off the heel. It'll make you hit pushes and slices because your hands are not turning around your body. And then the fat and thin shots are coming from a little bit of weight transfer. I know you're wearing sandals here, so weight transfer is really hard in sandals. But, I suspect that the same type of thing is happening in your golf swing when you're on grass or in regular shoes. So I'm just going to play this through here real quick. So as we take the club back, first things first, I want you to see that club is a little bit on the inside of your hand line, which means that your arms are starting to roll a little bit. So by roll, I mean this right arm is kind of coming underneath your left arm. I'd like to see that right arm stay above your left arm and keeping that club more on this driving up plane. But I think what we're about to do to your setup is going to naturally help fix this. So I also drew a line here on your head because I want you to show you what's happening with your head movement, and then also your spine angle. And then this is kind of your backside line here. So I want you to keep an eye on the bottom of this spine angle line because you're going to see how much your body actually moves forward towards the ball. So as we move this back to the top of your swing, okay, so see how much your head has moved above that red line. When we started this, your head was actually at the bottom of this red line. Now it's over the top of it on that top headline. If you look at your spine angle line, your backside has actually moved past that, and you were probably 2 or 3 inches behind that. So what this means is everything is shifted forward in your swing. So now you're actually closer to the golf ball than you were when we started this swing. What I really like is what's going on up here. So your hands and your arms are actually in a really nice position. So I would call this a very neutral position, but it's a place where you can attack the ball really nicely, where if we get this lower body and weight working properly, you'll be able to attack that ball from the inside and actually use your right arm like a piston to hit down into it. So now I want you to see, as we move down into impact, what's going to happen. So see, your hips are pushing even more forward. So this is your new hip line. Your other one was kind of back out here, right in here. So you've moved a good 6 inches towards the ball. And what's also happening is now your back is starting to curve because your hips have pushed forward. And your hands now, you really would want your hands in here when you're trying to attack that ball, but your hands have gone outside. Now, when you talk about in your post that you try to shallow the club, so the reason that you can't shallow it is because your body's in the way right here. See, if your hands were actually to come in here, you'd hit yourself in the belt buckle or a worse place that might hurt a little bit more. So your hands have to push outside. And that's going to cause a move here that I'm going to show you because your hands are so far outside. Now you kind of have to flick your hands down at the club and watch what it's going to do to your head and your hands as you come through. So see how you are already stood straight up, and these hands are exiting very vertical here. So everything is pushing up towards the sky instead of where you would want to see it, which is more around your body. Okay. So how are we going to fix that? So here's a couple things that I see. So in your setup here, I just kind of want to draw a line down what I would consider kind of your body mass center. Okay. Look at where your body mass center is. You're pretty much over your heels. So you're sat down in your heels. And now if I play this forward, the funny part is you're actually going to move forward to get into a better position right off the bat. Like one of your first moves is actually to kind of push your weight forward towards your toes. So right there, now you're in a good position, right? Now you're in a spot where you're over your toes. But the problem is because you started on your heels and then pushed forward during the dynamic movement, you've crowded the ball too much. So I'm going to go back here and we're going to go backwards to this first one. So we're going to play this through to the end and then we'll go back to this first spot. So here's what I want to see in your setup. So I want to see more your shoulders. So this shoulder line, right? I want it more out here. So you're going to feel a little bit further away from the ball and a little bit more bent over. But what that's going to do is it's going to give you a lot of space right here for your hands to work. And you're a little bit bigger of a guy, which is why when you hit it straight, you're going to hit it a mile because you have all that body mass put behind the ball. But right now, your body mass can't get behind it because it's in the way of where you're trying to go. So I would take maybe about a half a step back, and you're gonna play around with this a little bit to find your spot, but you should feel some weight on your toes. Okay, so it's because you're on your heels right now, it's gonna feel really on your toes, but it really is more like on the balls of your feet, and eventually it's gonna feel very centered. Like if you were about to jump, that's kind of the balance that you want. If you were just going to take the highest jump you can and touch the rim of a basketball hoop right before you're about to do that, that should be your balance feel. So from there, here's what I want to see. So as you take the club away, right, with your hands in your arms. So I want to see your right arm feeling like it doesn't roll. So right now it's kind of rolling this way. I want you to feel like it stays on top and this club head stays outside of your hands for longer. Okay, the other thing that I want that you're going to naturally feel is I want you to feel this right side actually pushing backwards. So what that's going to do is as your right side pushes backwards and your hands start to get a little bit more vertical and you're in a good weight position from the beginning, you're going to feel like you have a ton of space. So you're going to feel very far away from the ball when you're at the top of the swing. So when you get here, okay, so right here, you see everything's kind of pretty close to the ball. This hasn't really moved that much. If you actually let this right hip release back a little bit, it's going to drop your hands back a little bit. It's going to keep your posture, your body posture a lot better and more down. And you're going to feel like there's a ton of space right here for your hands to work. That is going to allow you to shallow the club more. So now your thought of when you're shallowing the club, your hands are actually going to have space to do that, which right now they don't because your body's getting in the way and then everything is standing up, which is causing your hands to flick down at it, which is causing you to hit off the heel, which is going to be a push or a push slice, or sometimes you're going to hit it right off the hosel and it's going to be the dreaded shank. So as you rotate back, let that right side release. So it actually should move about an inch or two back from where you started. Okay, now you're going to feel very behind the ball. So as you come down, this is the weight transfer portion of it. Excuse me. So as you come down, now you've created all this space, your hands can work. Okay, so now you're going to feel very loaded into this right hip. But what you need to do is you have to undo everything that just happened. So I want you to feel like that weight is transferring from your left or from your right side onto your left side very early. And you're going to feel very ahead of the ball. But you need to transfer it this way. Okay? Never transfer it towards the ball. So your weight transfer is going to go from your right side. So now you're loaded back into your right side. Your right hip's pushed back. You're going to feel pretty far away from the ball at this point. But it should also feel like your right hand has a lot of control and can just push down into the ball. Like the goal of a backswing is to get into a position where your right hand can just naturally flow down into the ball, right? And you're not really in that position right now. You have to do some manipulation to get to the ball. As you feel further back, So those first two moves, you're going to feel a little bit more on your toes, a little more bouncy at address. You're going to be about a half a step away from the ball. You're going to take that club a little bit more outside. So your right hand is going to be a little more under the club and you're going to be controlling it. And your right hip's released back a little bit. Okay, so now I'm farther away from the ball. I feel like my right hand can really shallow out and still drop down into the slot and hit that ball. So then that thought that you're already using of your hands dropping first is going to be really good because that's going to keep you on plane and actually a little bit inside of the plane to help you attack from the inside and hit a draw. I personally like to hit cuts, but I don't want to change too much about what you're doing naturally because I think you're doing a lot of great stuff with your upper body. Like I wouldn't really change much about your rotation or your hand position. Really, it's just that lower body getting in the way of your rotation here. So I'm going to pull up another swing here of John Daly because he's a big hitter, a similar body type to you. He might be a little bit bigger, but I just want to show you what I'm talking about. So I want you to watch his right hip pocket. So as he takes that club away, his right hand, he sucks it back in a little bit too and gets it kind of behind him, which is okay. A lot of golfers play from there. It's not ideal. But you see how his right hip has really released behind the ball? And look how much space he has now. So he's started a little bit further back from the ball. His right side is released behind. He feels very behind the ball. And from that position, he feels like there is so much space for his right hand to work. Now watch what happens. As he comes down and through, okay, see how his hips kind of stay back? They're not really getting in the way of his hands. So now his hands can release down and look at how far they are away from his body. All right, he's still got a good, 6 to 8 inches away from his body that his hands are. He's not crowded himself, and his hands can now pass and go to the left, which is what generates power. Okay, so let's jump back over to yours here. I'm going to exit out of this. So that's not what we're seeing with yours. What we're seeing with yours is your hips are pushing forward. See, now your hands have nowhere to go. Your body's blocking where we want your hands. Look at those hands. I got a lot of arrows here. I'm going to erase some of these. Okay. So take a look at where your hands want to go. John Daly's hands, basically they came right in here and they went boom this way. Your hands are coming very down. And now they can't pass around your body because your body's in the way. So your body stops, your hands go straight up in the air. And that's really the issue. So let's get into the drill portion of this and what I would really like to see. So first things first, I want you to really focus on your setup. So I'll really feel like, you're going to feel way over your toes. Like your body weight is heavy on your toes. But you need to start off feeling like you're more forward and on the balls of your feet. So that's going to allow you to really rotate behind the ball. So then what I want you to do then is to just take some swings just to the top of your swing and feel like that your right side is pushing back really far and get that feeling. Okay, so just take that swing, push that club back, feel like your right hip is creating depth, right? We call it depth in the swing. So this right here, pushing back that way on your backswing. Don't actually hit a forward swing, but I want you to feel your hands are going to be more back in here as opposed to up here because now you've created depth. You're going to stay in your posture. You're going to be a little bit more 90 degrees to that angle. Okay. And then what we need is some weight transfer. So a great drill for how to do weight transfer is it's a step through drill, right? Arnold Palmer used to do it all the time. So after you've mastered these two things, once you've gotten yourself into a position where your right hip is releasing back, you're not pushing forward, getting on your toes during your dynamic movement, we're going to do a step through drill. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a swing, and before you hit the ball, so as your arms are coming down, before you hit the ball, I want all your weight on your left side. And then as you hit it, you're going to step forward. So the way to cheat on this drill is if you hit the ball and then step through, right? It's got to be kind of a simultaneous move. So you're stepping back, and as you make impact with the ball, your right side is actually releasing. And that's going to ensure that the weight is getting on the left side of your body. Because what's the danger of what could happen now is if you do everything right on the backswing, but then your weight stays back here. So if my right side goes back here and then it stays here and all my weight stays on my right side, it could make that slice a lot worse, because now you're actually attacking it more from the inside. You can shallow your hands. And if you leave that puppy open, man, that is right going right. So now I want you to get all that weight on that left side. And it's going to feel really early, right? It's going to feel like you are just pounding down into the ground, and you might take a couple deep divots right away. But that's the art of golf, is you got to find your timing with it, right? So the fat and the thin shots are going to start to go away as you find your timing to move forward through the ball. And that step through drill, as you release your right side, it's going to help that timing out a ton. Okay. Now the final part of this is going to be your arms swinging to the left around your body. And there's a really phenomenal drill, and I actually did a YouTube video on it previously, and I'll link that here. But basically what you do, we call it crawl before you can walk, before you can run. You take full swings with your feet put together, then you drop your right foot back, so it'll actually be like here, and essentially it's imitating a one-legged swing. And then the running portion of it will be lifting your leg off the ground and actually hitting them with just one leg on the ground. And what that's going to do is it's going to train your arms to move around your body more. So it's going to take your rotation and you're going to take all your power away, because you don't have like a stance and you can't really transfer your weight. So it's going to teach you how to rotate your arms through the shot and get these arms exiting a little more out here as opposed to exiting straight up. So I think all in all, you have a really good swing going on. I'm really, really excited about what you're doing with your hands and your upper body. And I would not change anything about your grip. I wouldn't change anything there. Just get that weight a little bit more forward at address. Get that right hip a little bit more depth in the takeaway, and then transfer that weight to the left side. And I think you're going to be hitting some great shots and playing great golf. So be sure to check back in with me. If you want to make another video of you actually out on the range, that would be helpful. I can take a look. I always want to hear how it's going with my students. So take some time. Let me know how it's going. When you play well, it makes me really happy. So, I'm excited to hear how it goes, and hopefully we can get that handicap a little bit lower.